People say I'm fortunate, but health isn't built on luck alone. It's built on what you do every single day. I'm 90 now. I still run errands myself, get around without pain, and haven't caught so much as a cold in over 40 years. Friends often say, it must be in your genes, but they don't see the daily care behind it. Staying healthy in older age doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't disappear overnight either. It slips away quietly in the moments we stop stretching, stop moving, stop believing we can improve. But here's what time has taught me. Just as strength fades, it can return, not through extreme effort, but through simple, steady choices. When doctors told me to take it easy, I decided instead to stay present, listen to my body, and treat it with the same attention I once gave to others. Over the years, I found 5 gentle exercises that quietly shape the way I age. They aren't flashy or complicated. No equipment. No rush. Just movements that help rebuild balance, protect your joints, restore calm, and keep your mind alert. If you're open to investing a few quiet minutes each day, these exercises could become the turning point you've been hoping for. Let me share what's helped me thrive. Not in theory, but in practice. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. The magic chair routine. I used to think strength came from pushing limits, sweating through workouts, chasing bigger goals, doing more. But something changed after I turned 60. My body stopped responding to force. What it craved instead was rhythm, repetition, and a kind of gentle respect. That's when I stumbled on one of the simplest, most powerful tools I've ever used to stay strong: the kitchen chair. Not a gym, not equipment, just the very chair I sat in for breakfast. It all began when I started noticing little struggles creeping in. Getting up from the table took more effort. Lifting my arms to reach a bowl overhead felt awkward. My legs, once solid and reliable, began to shake when I stood too long. There wasn't anything dramatic, just a slow, quiet loss of strength, a kind of fading. Then one morning, while reaching for a skillet, I stumbled. I didn't fall, but the jolt of fear stayed with me. That moment was a message. If I didn't act now, I might lose more than balance. I could lose my freedom. So, I made a promise to myself. Each morning, before coffee, before conversation, I would sit in my chair and move slowly. Intentionally, I planted both feet flat on the floor. Then, one leg at a time, I lifted just a few inches, holding it there for a few seconds. Then lowering it back down. I didn't rush. I didn't count reps like an athlete. I focused on how my muscles felt, how my breath moved with each lift. Then I moved to my arms. I stretched them forward, raised them slowly to shoulder height, and brought them down with control. 10 slow, steady repetitions. No weights, no strain, just attention. It took less than 5 minutes, but the impact far greater than I expected. Within weeks, I could stand more easily. I stopped bracing myself on the counter. I felt more steady stepping off curbs. I carried groceries without thinking twice. But more than that, I felt like I'd reclaimed something I hadn't realized was slipping away: my confidence. That chair had become something sacred, a daily reminder that strength doesn't have to roar. Sometimes it whispers, and when you listen, your body responds. There's even a name for this kind of exercise: functional movement. Movements that mimic real life. Standing, reaching, lifting. According to research published in the Journal of Gerontology, older adults who engage in regular seated movement exercises like leg lifts and arm raises can reduce their fall risk by over 30% and significantly improve lower body strength. But you don't need to read the study to believe it. I've lived the results. And the best part, anyone can do it. You don't need perfect knees, fancy equipment, or a gym membership. You just need a chair, a little space, and a willingness to start. Whether you're recovering, aging, or just trying to feel more stable again, this ritual meets you where you are. It's not about breaking your body down. It's about reminding it gently, consistently, that it still has a job to do, and that you still belong fully in your life. Now, if a simple chair can bring back this much strength, just imagine what your breath, yes, just your breath, can do next. What I learned in the weeks that followed changed everything about how I move, sleep, and even think. Let's explore that next. 2. The 478 breath. For much of my life, I believed healing came from things outside of me: pills, treatments, hard work. I never thought that something as simple, as constant, as invisible as breath could be the key to feeling whole again. But I was wrong. It wasn't until my late 60s that I truly understood how powerful a few moments of focused breathing could be. Not because someone told me, but because I felt it shift something inside me when nothing else could. Back then, I was moving through my days with a strange kind of weariness. It wasn't exhaustion. Exactly. I was sleeping through the night, eating well, doing all the right things. But something wasn't right. My mind was foggy. My digestion had slowed to a crawl. I was more irritable than usual, snapping over little things. And no matter how many tests I ran or how many vitamins I added, the feeling stayed. It was during one of those long, restless mornings that I read about a simple breathing practice. It was called the 4 to 7 -8 technique. The idea was almost too basic to take seriously. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. Breathe out for 8. No fancy equipment. No cost. Just breath. I was skeptical, but I figured if I had time to scroll and worry, I had time to breathe. So I sat quietly, feet on the floor, spine tall, hands resting gently in my lap. I closed my eyes and followed the rhythm. Inhale for 4. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. That first round felt odd, unfamiliar. But I did another and another. By the 4th round, something shifted. My chest softened. My yaw relaxed. My racing thoughts slowed to a gentle drift. My shoulders tense, for who knows how long, finally dropped. And in that stillness, something woke up inside me. I didn't feel fixed, but I felt calmer, more connected to my own body than I had in weeks. So I made it part of my daily rhythm. 4 cycles in the morning before breakfast. 4 again at night before sleep. And the effects weren't just emotional. Within a week, I was sleeping more deeply. My digestion improved. The irritability faded. And over time, I noticed something incredible. I wasn't getting sick. Even when people around me came down with colds or flu, I stayed steady, My body wasn't just coasting anymore, it was restoring. There's a reason for this. The 4 to 7 -8 breath works by activating your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body responsible for rest, recovery, and repair. It's like flipping a switch that says, "You're safe now." And when the body feels safe, everything works better. Your hormones balance. Your blood pressure lowers. Your immune system kicks into gear, not in a fight or flight frenzy, but in a calm, steady rhythm that protects and preserves. But this isn't just about physiology. For me, this breath became a practice of presence. With every inhale, I reminded myself I'm still here. With every exhale, I let go of tension I didn't even know I was carrying. Breathing, I discovered, isn't just something we do. It's something we can use as a tool, as a refuge, as medicine. And if something as subtle as breath can calm the nervous system, imagine what happens when we add movement. Not intense workouts, but gentle, purposeful walking, a habit as old as time, and yet as transformative as any pill. That's what we'll explore next. If you're still here with me, comment number 1 below to let me know. Now, let's keep going. There's more goodness ahead in point 3. 3. Walking as medicine. There was a point in my life not too long after turning 65 when time started to feel different. The hours didn't change, but how I moved through them did. I noticed a kind of heaviness settling into my days. My legs tired more easily. My thoughts moved slower, like wading through fog. And even though nothing was technically wrong, everything felt slightly off. I wasn't just aging. I was disconnecting from my own body, from the rhythm of the world around me, and even from the simple act of motion. That's when I made a quiet decision. I didn't buy a treadmill. I didn't sign up for a fitness class. I just stepped outside and started walking. No goal. No stopwatch. No headphones or distractions. Just me. The ground beneath my feet. And the early light of morning. It started small, just once around the block. Maybe 5 minutes. My knees weren't thrilled. My back made itself known. But something deeper stirred, a kind of recognition, like my body had been waiting for me to return to it. Over the days and weeks that followed, those 5 minutes stretched into 10. Then 15. Not because I pushed harder, but because I listened more closely to my breath, to the breeze, to the quiet thump of my heart sinking with each step. I wasn't walking to lose weight or chase some idea of youth. I was walking to remember myself. The self that feels strong, that feels rooted, that feels fully alive. The effects were subtle at first, then unmistakable. My shoulders stopped rounding forward. My balance improved. I no longer needed to steady myself against the wall when I stood up. My digestion became more regular. My sleep deepened. My mind, once cluttered with looping worries, started to clear like mist burning off in sunlight. The walk became more than movement. It became medicine. People often dismiss walking as too simple. But the older I get, the more I understand the simple things are what save us. Walking gently, but consistently recalibrates the nervous system. It supports circulation, boosts lymphatic flow, enhances mood, and increases oxygen flow to the brain. It's not just physical, it's neurological. It reminds your body that it's safe, that it still works, that you are still in motion, still in command. And yes, the science backs this up. Research from the British Journal of Sports Medicine confirms that regular walks significantly lower inflammation in older adults. A Stanford study found that walking outdoors improves cognitive performance and creative thinking more than sitting indoors. But I don't need research to tell me what I already know in my bones. After a walk, I feel like someone pressed a reset button inside me. Like I've stepped back into myself after drifting away. Rain or shine, I walk. Not out of discipline, but out of gratitude. Because I felt what happens when I skip it. The stiffness returns. The mind dulls. My mood dips. Walking gives me back my edge not through effort, but through alignment. And here's a little habit I picked up along the way. I smile while I walk, even if I don't feel like it at first. That small curve of the lips, it tells my brain I'm okay. It soothes the vagus nerve, helps regulate my heartbeat, and eases tension I didn't even know I was carrying. So if you've been feeling stuck, physically sluggish, emotionally flat, mentally cloudy, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for perfect weather or the right shoes. Just open the door. Take one step, then another, and another. Let your body remember what it was made to do. And once you return from that quiet, steady walk, there's something even more important waiting for you. A ritual so gentle, so easy. You can do it before your feet ever touch the floor in the morning. It takes just 3 minutes, but what it does for your spine, your energy, and your focus could shape the entire rest of your day. Let's talk about that next. 4. The spine awakening ritual. For most of my life, I believed health began with diet or exercise, or maybe genetics if you were lucky. But the older I got, the more I realized the first choice that shapes your entire day begins before you even get out of bed. After living over 90 years without a major illness and not even catching a cold for decades, I've come to see one truth. How you wake up matters more than most people realize. Every single morning, before I sit up, before I reach for my slippers, I give my body one quiet message: I'm here. And I'm listening. I stay on my back, eyes still soft with sleep, and begin a small sequence I've followed for nearly 40 years. First, I gently turn my head side to side. Not a stretch, not a twist, just a soft cue to wake up the nerves along my neck, the same nerves that connect to balance, breathing, and digestion. Then I pull my knees slowly toward my chest, wrap my arms around them, and rock side to side, like I'm holding my own spine in a hug. After that, I release, let my back settle, and just breathe. That's it. 3 minutes. But everything changes after that. To most people, it might sound too simple to matter. But simplicity doesn't mean weakness. This small spinal ritual gently wakes up the central nervous system. It brings the spine online. And the spine, as you may know, isn't just a stack of bones. It's your body's central command center. Every movement, every organ, every breath depends on it being awake and responsive. Most people spring out of bed with stiff joints and groggy blood. They force themselves upright too fast, sending blood pressure soaring and the nervous system into shock. That's why so many strokes, ditzy spells, or unexpected falls happen within the first hour of waking. But when you give your spine time to rejoin your body, something powerful happens. You reduce that risk. You reclaim control. You remember how to live gently, not just urgently. I've done this sequence since I was 52. Not because I had to, but because it works. Science now supports what many of us elders already feel in our bones. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy found that older adults who practice morning spinal mobilization report fewer falls, steadier posture, and clearer focus throughout the day. But beyond the studies, the truth is simple. I just feel better, looser, more grounded, more like myself. It doesn't take strength. It doesn't require youth or flexibility. What it asks is presence, your willingness to tune into your body instead of racing past it. And in a world obsessed with speed, choosing slowness is one of the most radical, healing acts we can make. This practice has become my quiet anchor, the way I welcome each new day with respect, with gratitude, with breath. Because the truth is, you can't build lasting strength on a disconnected spine. Every step you take, every deep breath, every steady hand, it all begins with how your spine wakes up. And speaking of hands, if you've ever struggled with opening jars, writing clearly, or simply holding something without tension, what I'll share next may surprise you. It's a small ritual, just as simple as this one, that focuses entirely on the strength and flexibility of your fingers. I call it my hand awakening, and believe it or not, it's changed how I write, cook, hold my loved ones, and even how I feel connected to the world. Let's move on to that next. 5. The hand opening ritual. There's a moment in the aging process that sneaks up on you, not with a bang, but with a whisper. It's not when your back stiffens or when the stairs start to feel steeper. It's when your hands stop keeping up. You try to twist a doorknob and realize it takes effort. You reach for a glass and feel uncertain. You go to button your shirt and find your fingers fumbling. It's subtle, but it shakes you. Because suddenly, something you've done your entire life without thought becomes something you have to think about. I still remember the day I noticed. I was 74. I had fumbled with my front door key 3 mornings in a row. One time, I dropped them between the porch steps and nearly locked myself out. I tried to laugh it off. Just being clumsy, I muttered. But a little voice in the back of my mind said otherwise. It wasn't about the keys. It was about control. My hands, once sure and reliable, had started to slip away from me. That was the day I decided to make a change. Not with big machines or expensive therapies, with something almost embarrassingly simple. Each morning, before I brush my teeth or fix breakfast, I sit quietly and focus on my hands. I stretch my fingers wide, as far apart as they'll go, like I'm trying to let light pass through them. Then, slowly, I curl them into a tight fist. I hold that fist for a count of 5, then release. I do this 10 times, without rushing. It may sound like nothing, but that tiny, mindful motion has changed everything. After a couple of weeks, I noticed the stiffness in my fingers fading. I could write longer without cramping. I stopped dropping things. I held mugs, keys, and spoons with more ease. My hands felt warmer, more responsive, as if they were waking up again. But this habit has done more than restore my grip. It's restored a piece of who I am, because our hands are how we touch the world. They feed us, dress us, comfort us. They express what we feel, whether through a written note or a comforting touch. When our hands weaken, it's not just a physical inconvenience. It can feel like a quiet loss of identity. That's why I protect this little ritual, not out of fear, but out of respect, because Because taking care of your hands means taking care of your independence. And the research backs that up. Studies in geriatric health journals have confirmed that simple hand-strengthening exercises reduce arthritis pain, improve neurological communication, and even help preserve brain function. One study even found that grip strength can predict overall longevity more accurately than blood pressure in older adults. But beyond all the science, here's what I know for sure. This small act helps me stay me. It grounds me in the day. It reminds me that even in aging, I can choose intention. I can choose strength even in the quietest ways. So yes, I still do it. Every morning. Before the day takes over. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because in those 5 minutes, I'm not just exercising, I'm honoring my body, my autonomy, my presence. I'm saying to myself, I'm still here, and I still get to choose how I show up in this world. And now, if you've walked with me through all these habits, the breath, the spine, the chair, the walk, the hands, you may be wondering what comes at the end of the day. What do I do after the sun goes down to help my body reset? En repair. And maybe even renew itself overnight. That, my friend, is where we're headed next. And it may be the simplest but most powerful part of all, the quiet power of small things. After spending more than 90 years on this earth, there's one truth I wish I had understood. Sooner, aging doesn't mark the decline of health. It signals the beginning of a new kind of strength. One that's not built on speed or power, but on gentleness, patience, and quiet commitment. The practices I've shared with you, the spinal wake-up, the chair movements, the steady breath, the mindful walk, and the hand-opening ritual won't turn heads or draw applause. But they've given me something I wouldn't trade for anything, the ability to care for myself, to move through my day with confidence, and to trust my body even now. You see, the world often tells us to do more, be more, hustle harder, but past 60, the rules change. True wellness doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from doing a little less, but doing it with full awareness. You don't have to run marathons. You don't need an extreme diet. What matters most is the daily act of showing up for yourself. 5 minutes of care repeated every morning is more powerful than 5 hours once a year. That's how strength is rebuilt, not in a rush, but in rhythm. And if you're sitting there thinking you've missed your chance, please hear me when I say this. As long as you're breathing, you haven't missed anything. I didn't begin these habits in my youth. I began when my joints started to protest and my balance felt uncertain. That's exactly when it mattered most. Because consistency doesn't ask for perfection. It only asks for presence. Of course, not every day will feel easy. Some mornings your limbs may feel heavy, or your mind may wander. But do it anyway. Show up for yourself, especially on the hard days, because the benefit of these small rituals isn't just in the body, it's in the spirit. When you care for yourself, especially in older age, you're sending a powerful message to your entire being. I still matter. I haven't given up. And that message does something. It shifts something. It makes you stand a little taller. It brings back the dignity that time tries to wear down. There is no secret formula. No one-size-fits-all solution. But there is this movement with intention. Breath with rhythm. Thought with purpose. That's where vitality lives. Not in flashy workouts or complicated routines, but in the quiet, almost sacred acts of self-respect. So start today. Not next Monday. Not when you feel more motivated. Now, wiggle your toes before standing. Sit with posture. Walk like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Every act of care is an act of power. It's a refusal to let age write your story without your input. You are not at the mercy of time. You are the author of how you meet it. And the beauty of that, you get to choose again every morning, to begin again, to keep going. So from one long-lived soul to another, I offer this: don't wait for permission. Don't wait for inspiration. Just begin. The years ahead aren't something to fear. They're something to fill with movement, with presence, with life. And now, I'd love to hear what's resonated with you. Is there one habit or reflection that stuck with you? Leave a comment and let me know what you're planning to bring into your daily routine. Let's build a space where we encourage each other forward. If this message spoke to you, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, feel free to type 0. Either way, your feedback helps us keep creating meaningful content for this season of life. Thank you for watching, and more importantly, thank you for caring for yourself. Here's to not just living longer, but living wiser on your own terms.